Cycle 2, week 5 drawing. This one is really fun, and it's probably one of the more basic ones that we'll do this first 6 weeks, which is nice that it's kind of towards the end because it's like, okay, I've worked really hard. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and this is perfect for that. So every single year that I have been in CC and we've gotten to week 5 and we've drawn perspective, it has been with an eye to helping students understand vanishing point, helping students understand that as things get further in the distance, they're smaller and they're closer, they're bigger when they're closer to us. This lesson is a really fun, different take on perspective that uses light instead of a vanishing point. So it's a little bit less difficult, I think, but it's also can be really, really fun. And some of the examples that were in the book were really, really neat. So I think this will be a really fun week. So she spends the first beginning talking about the science of light. And this is something that we've been talking in science about how light changes as it goes through water or as it goes through our atmosphere, and how as there are things in the way of the light that might change the direction that the light is moving, objects may appear different than what they really are. And so she talks a little bit about the science of light, and then she actually gives a 1-sentence summary. This would be something that you could write on the board and that your parents could copy down or take a picture of, and that your students could work to add to their memory work for the upcoming week. But it says, and this will be in your soft copy, but it says, light scatters in the atmosphere as it travels. Sorry, I'm reading this backwards. As it travels toward us, leaving distant objects looking faded and bluish with softer edges and less visible detail. So completely optional. You might not even want to do it if you have younger kids, but if you have older kids, it might be a good way to supplement some of their science learning. So the thing that she has given us for this week is 2 of the 7 elements of art are the things that we're going to focus on. So the 7 elements of art are the mini poster from week 1. And the 2 that we're going to focus on are space. This is the area around and within the subject of the art. And then the second one is form. Form is the one right above it. And this is the 3 dimensions of an object that take up space. So artists use different perspective methods to create 2-dimensional or flat artwork that make it look like it's 3-dimensional. So you can use overlap, horizontal placement, size, shadows, the angle of lines, the degree of detail, and color. And she's given us a methods of perspective poster. And it's in here somewhere. I don't know why it's not in this one. Anyway, it's in here. I'm sure it is. I'll double check to make sure everybody has them. But this is what it looks like. I've printed these on cardstock for you. This is the methods of perspective. Again, this is not something that you have to stress over or make your kids learn or anything like that. But just, let them be aware that there are different ways to show perspective, that something has dimension. What we are going to do is we're going to use color. And what we're going to try to illustrate is depth. And you can do this with any medium. This says that acrylic paint is the easiest for students because it's mostly opaque and it dries quickly. I think, are going to use colored pencils. We're going to get lots of practice with acrylic paint and different kinds of paint when we do our famous artists. So we're going to keep this one simple and less messy, and we are going to use colored pencils. But what we're going to do is try to create a landscape with 3 layers of mountains, and we're going to create the illusion of depth using overlap and color. So what they want you to do is draw 3 horizontal jagged lines or wavy lines across your paper, and these are going to be your layers of your hills or your mountains. You're going to color the sky bright blue or leave it white, color the farthest away mountain. This is the top layer just under the sky, a light blue-gray. Color the middle layer a medium blue, and color the closest mountain a dark blue-green. So I'll give you an example. This is one with colored pencil, and then underneath it is acrylic paint. But you see how we've got the 3 layers. The darker one is the closest, the lighter one is in the middle, and then the lightest one is furthest away. So we've got overlapping layers of mountains, but then we also have the color that helps create the illusion of depth. They did the same with the acrylic paint. So modifications for different age groups. She says level 1, help the students draw the initial lines and then tell them which colors to use. Crayons would be fine too. Colored pencils are fine. A combination of both would be fine. If they want to use markers, that's totally fine too. We just don't have the same variation in color with the markers as we do with the colored pencils and the crayons. Level 2 would be to do exactly what I just told you. Draw the wavy lines and then have them color it. Level 3 would be to complete the project and then have the students use a black to draw the silhouette of a tree or another object on their landscape. Farther objects should be drawn with less visible detail and softer edges. This would be like the cactus or the tree. Here's the cactus in the acrylic one. There's a tree and then there's a dock. You see, even though both of these are dark, this one is not quite as dark as this one, and it gives the illusion that it's further away. And then level 4, encourage students to add vertical symmetry to their piece by including a lake at the base of the mountains. The mountains should be reflected in the lake with the same color variations. So again, looking back here, you can see I've got my lake, and I've got the darkest mountains that are reflected, and then I've got a lighter blue, and then I've got the lightest blue that are all reflected in the lake, and it gives it the illusion of symmetry. I mean, not the illusion, but it gives a point of symmetry. So that is our task, our project for week 5. Try this at home. You could take the mountain that they draw in class and redo it with paint or another medium, chalk. Chalk is really fun, and that's something that they could do outside, maybe on a sidewalk. Pay attention next time you see a landscape with mountains, trees, or buildings, and take a moment to notice the variety of color in the subjects. And then look at pictures that you like that have depth and create those at home. The picture that they gave us, there are several pictures that are in here. I'll show you. This is the one that our project is like kind of where it came from. Notice how this would be a good one to show the kids, by the way. Notice how in the lake, the mountains look really fuzzy, but in actuality, obviously they're not really blurry or fuzzy. So this is a good picture of that overlap and color. Here's another really good picture of overlap and how these hills back here are more distant than these hills here. And the cactus in the foreground is nice and crisp, and it's a darker color. This is by Caspar David Friedrich, and I'm not familiar with this artist, but this is another really great example. Here he is in the foreground, and his image is nice and crisp and dark, but as you go deeper and deeper back, the images get blurrier, and then almost, like you can almost barely see the detail of the mountains in the background. So there's another picture here. This one's just really pretty. You've got the stream that's kind of the crisp edge of the lake right here, and then the mountains as they go further, the trees as they go further, the clouds as they go further back get lighter and less crisp in their detail. Any of these pictures would be good that they could emulate, especially those older kids if they don't want to do just the mountains. Here is a great example of a kid that did it with just pencil. And you can see just the layers of detail using a lighter pressure on his pencil. His pencil, her pencil. I don't know who drew it. It doesn't say. So anyway, that is Drawing Cycle 2, Week 5.